Let's go!
And we are live. What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and we are back. Took some time off, had to get the juices back, get them going, and I am excited for my first show of 2022. So, I'm excited to get going, and I got a special guest with me, my guy, the co-host of Draft Capital and Breaking the Game, my guy, Stephen Gillaspie. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Chris, long time no see. I've missed you. I haven't seen you, and it feels like maybe 16 hours. So it's nice being on the show with you today. Letting you kind of be behind the wheel today and getting to share my thoughts and opinions on basketball, man. It's a good day.
Yes. Like I said, it's been a little bit, but I'm excited to get back rolling for the Off the Ball podcast and to talk ball. Always a good time talking ball with you. Like I said, we just not too long ago, a few hours ago, we were on Draft Capital talking to our guy Lee, breaking down some of the best perimeter players in the NBA draft. And on today's show, we're going to talk about a few things. I dropped my big board, so we're going to dive into some of my of what Stephen likes, what Stephen doesn't like, and get his thoughts on my big board that dropped on the Off the Ball Network Substack. Make sure to go subscribe. And we're going to talk about some trades that have happened and some injuries that have recently happened in the league and how that affects the whole landscape of the team. But before we get into it, I want to talk about the great people at Built Bar. That's one of our newest sponsors. They're great sponsors, and I'm very happy to have them aboard. Unlike unlike all the other bars out there that taste like either old Play-Doh or a piece of cardboard, when you eat a Built Bar, you would think that you are cheating on your diet with a delicious chocolate dessert. If your kids find out how good these are, you're going to have to buy more because they will be begging for more. They're great. We've had a lot of people at the network go buy some. Use promo code Off the Ball. You get a little discount. Helps out the podcast. Help out the network. So go check them out. Great. We talked about it yesterday. Very happy to have them aboard. I've seen them with various other draft networks and all that. So happy to have them aboard the Off the Ball Network as one of our sponsors. So make sure to check them out. BuiltBar.com. Use promo code Off the Ball. So Stephen, first of all, how are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. It's a Monday, Martin Luther King Day, so happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day out there to all the fine
happy
folks.
MLK Day. Happy MLK Day.
It's a big important day in the sport of basketball. A lot of people pay tributes to the great Reverend in various ways. And I love how much basketball has kind of, I won't say adopted, that might not be the most appropriate word, but how synonymous NBA is becoming with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I love that aspect of it. We get to celebrate a life of one of the most important figures in American history and in the world. But other than that, man, just I've been hanging out with the family all day long, taking it easy, enjoying my last day off before I gotta get back to my job, with the armed forces here. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be on the show with you today, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Like I said, got a great slate of games on MLK Day. Like I said, it feels like it's basketball and MLK Day is together. Like every time you think about MLK Day, obviously all the great things he's done, is basketball, right? And it's kind of going hand to hand, and it's a beautiful thing. My Knicks are always on. Great slate of games of basketball in college and in the NBA. But Stephen, there was a trade, and we had talked about this on your show.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on my show. Obviously, Cam Reddish was dealt to the New York Knicks. And obviously we know Cam Reddish we talked about this word, has the P word, potential, the amount of potential he has, right? And that could be good and that could be scary at the same time, right? Both things can be true. So just give me your thoughts. Obviously, the Knicks, they gave away Kevin Knox and the Charlotte pick they had gotten last year when they had moved down in the draft. I think that was the 19th pick. They had moved down and got Charlotte's future Charlotte pick, and it's protected, and you might not see that pick for years to come because it's so protected and all that. But just give me your initial thoughts when you heard about the trade, and did you feel like Atlanta Atlanta made the right move? Because we know they have a lot of talent, so you knew things like this would happen. Do you feel like they made the right move? Did they get enough for Cam? Just give me your initial thoughts when you heard about the trade.
Well, I like a lot of people have kind of fell in love with Cam because of what he could be. You brought up that P word, potential, and they could be kind of a double-edged sword of sorts. Potential could mean that, like, hey, this guy could be something great, but it also means that as of today, he's not where you want him to be, right? Like, he hasn't lived up to the ultimate ceiling that a lot of people project on a player. And that's one of the hardest things to do, Chris. We talk about this all the time on our draft show. It's really hard to quantify what the ultimate high end outcome of a player is, because sometimes we'll say, hey, this guy's going to be the next best thing, and then it doesn't happen. And then sometimes we'll say, this is who this player is, and then they end up being, a top 5 MVP candidate like DeMar DeRozan, right? So, I mean, there's a number of examples of potential not working out either for the good or for the bad. So with the Knicks adding Cam Reddish, you get a reunion of sorts, right, with RJ Barrett. That's got to be fun, at least in the locker room. That's going to be a plus, right? For Atlanta, I don't love what they got in return because, I mean, there's a world, Chris, where this trade ends up being 2 second-round picks in 2026 and 2027.
Exactly.
That's not ideally what you would expect to get from a former, first-round pick with a lot of promise. I mean, he's put up some big games just this year, right? But Atlanta's not doing what a lot of people, myself included, ultimately expected them to do. And we knew that Cam was on the trade block. They also have Danilo Gallinari on the trade block, and he's got a bigger, fatter contract, which could end up being, a salary match with a guy like a Ben Simmons out of Philadelphia, maybe reunite Gallinari, or send Gallinari to Philadelphia where he can help spread the floor there. But Atlanta, I don't love what they're doing. I don't necessarily love everything that the Knicks did in this trade, but at least by moving a draft pick and protecting it so heavily, they give themselves kind of a little bit of a cushion for like a worst case scenario, right? Because if they outright trade the draft pick and it ends up being a huge benefit for Atlanta, then, Hawks Twitter can get at Knicks Twitter and say like, hey, we won the trade, ha ha ha, or whatever, right? But
Hawks Twitter and Knicks Twitter might be the
what's the deal behind there? Can we deviate a little bit and get down to why y'all don't get along?
I don't know. Like it's crazy, right? It's intense. Hawks Twitter and Knicks Twitter is a battle that that gets interesting every time we see the matchup. But it's crazy. But you mentioned all that stuff. Like then for the Knicks, they make the deal for Cam, and he's a player that they kind of needed, right? They need a wing who could be able to create for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And just going by his numbers, I know he's not incredibly
hypothetically can create for himself.
Hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
And, we've seen him do it at times, right? And he's come, he hasn't been incredibly efficient so far in his career, right? I think rookie year 37% around. I think
even in college he wasn't,
and even in college,
right?
Yeah, and being the third wheel too. So, and this year numbers are a little bit up. I think he's around I'm looking at it right, 40%, shooting close to 38% from three, and in just 23 minutes a game, averaging 12 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the Knicks, I feel like they see this as okay, whatever the pick was.
Yep.
We feel like Cam, he's still super young. I don't know his exact age, but he's 22.
Yeah, he's
22 years old. So like whatever they felt like they can get with that pick, why not just make this move for Cam and see if he can blossom with having more of a bigger role with the Knicks, which he probably will have. Yes, I know they have some, Julius Randle, and they got, they got some guys, Alec Burks and all that, but Fournier, but maybe a bigger role. We might see what the Cam Reddish that everyone's been clamoring for. So to me, I feel like it was a good move for the Knicks. I know he's a restricted free agent and all that, and they're gonna have to figure out.
Pay him.
They gotta figure out if you're going to pay him. So to me, I think this was a good move just to see what. And right now he's not playing. Right now he is hurt. So we might not see him for maybe a week or two. But to me, I think it was a solid move for the Knicks. I think like I said, potentially this could be a home run. If it doesn't work out, I think if he's not what we want to think he could be, still think it was worth the risk. And Atlanta feels like they're a team, and I know you thought they would have a lot more success this season.
Top
I know a
3
lot
team
of
in the
us,
East is
a lot
what
of us
I
at Off the
expected.
Ball thought they would be a top 4 seed. I mean, coming off the season they had last year, going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe if Trae Young's not hurt, they may have snuck into the NBA Finals. They beat the Knicks in 5, right? Everyone thought that the Knicks may have that up on them, and they pretty much took care of the Knicks. And then they upset the Sixers in round 2. They kind of going in funk, so they're trying to figure things out. So, but it's to me, how would you grade out this trade overall? Do you think the Knicks won this trade?
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I think the Knicks are finally admitting, like, okay, Tom Thibodeau is kind of the same Tom Thibodeau that we had expected him to, that a lot of us expected him to be, right? And the youth movement is not in effect. So I would say that the Knicks won this trade, but I'm kind of wondering at what cost, right? Because they drafted Quentin Grimes last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of hampering his development, I feel like, with that move, right? And Deuce McBride, I don't know of a single Knick fan that doesn't love him, but he doesn't get ample amount of playing time, although point guard is kind of an area of concern, right? So you add another wing, and Chris, I kind of want to ask you this question too. You have RJ Barrett, you just paid Evan Fournier, and now you trade for another wing player, right? And now I'm not saying that he's in a worse situation, right? Because it's actually less crowded in New York for Cam Reddish to get playing time than it was in Atlanta. So that helps him out. But I'm speaking specifically for the roster construction of the Knicks. How much pressure do you think is on Evan Fournier to live up to that contract outside of the fact that he just got paid by the Knicks? Now he has a younger player with that P word that we keep talking about. How do you, like, what's the best case scenario in your opinion right now by having RJ Barrett, who might be the second best player on this team? Some nights he looks like he could be the best. You just paid Evan Fournier, and now you got this guy who people are comparing to Tracy McGrady, so like, what do you do if you're the Knicks with all 3 of these guys?
I think it's good. I think it's good. I think you need to, obviously Evan has played better of late.
Mm-hmm.
And we had talked about Evan on your show. He's definitely played better of late, but overall, it's not what you expected from Evan Fournier, right?
Nope.
And we kind of know his role. Like, we knew he wasn't going to come in and be a 21 point per guy, but you knew you needed scoring, right? The Knicks desperately needed scoring, right? That was why, defense wasn't the reason why they lost to Atlanta. It was not guys other than Julius Randle. Like, they were doubling Julius, tripling Julius.
Yep.
No one else other than Derrick Rose at times was able to create their own shot. So you needed someone. So I get why they got Evan Fournier and brought him in, but he hasn't lived up to that, to the contract and what he could be, right? Because we've seen him at Orlando. He's made some big shots. He's had some big scoring years.
Playing Boston, he looks like a superstar.
Yeah, and maybe they just got to play Boston more often.
That's what it is.
But to me, this puts pressure on him. Like, hey, we know we paid you, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, And I think vice versa too for Cam. Like, Cam might be coming in thinking, okay, this is my spot, but also, like, just because we traded for you, man, doesn't mean we're just gonna give you it. You got to earn it too. So I think this is a win. I think it's just going to increase the competition, get everyone going, get everyone, battle and all that. And I said, RJ has played a lot better.
Yep.
Of late. He was someone I was deeply concerned about.
He's super young too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's
but there was some
guy.
there was games where the inconsistency, and you're just like, is he going to figure out, especially with the shooting?
Yeah.
Inconsistent shooting. Everything felt so robotic with him. Now it feels like he's finally playing smooth, not playing so robotic and all that, and just playing his game.
Yeah, and I think too with RJ Barrett that a lot of people like, and look, I've come to know Knicks fans a lot through the network, and you guys love your team fiercely, and you're critical of the players because you want the absolute best for them and the team. The thing that I think people need to remember with RJ Barrett is exactly like how young he really is. and how much role and responsibility is on him. And I know in the heat of a game, when you lose by 2 and RJ had, a 4 of 11 night or a 6 for 17 night or something like that, you look and say RJ's got to get better. At the same time, there's a development happening with such a young player with so much role and responsibility on one of the most, on a team that has some of the most pressure to perform yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, if the Knicks are expected, a lot of it is expected for those players. And the amount of role and responsibility coupled with the youth of RJ Barrett, I think sometimes gets forgotten.
Yes. And also they don't play a very fast pace. And I've said this countless times with this team. To maximize guys like Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett and some of these other guys, you have to play faster pace of basketball. You got to be able to play more up tempo, because RJ in transition, to me, is very good. We saw it at Duke, right? And I think that's why people got excited when they got RJ. Same thing with Obi.
Yep.
To me, that was the number one thing. Is like, if we get him, like, the only way this is going to work is to get him a point guard and knows how to move the ball and find him in transition, because that's easy buckets. Right, you got, especially with young guys, try to get them easy buckets to get their confidence going. Because we've seen yesterday, Obi at times, especially rookie year, confidence gets a little jacked up, and then he's not going to play good basketball. Same thing with RG. You want to get him easy buckets and all that. So
but then you got to expect Coach Thibodeau to be something that he hasn't proven that he's not. So
exactly,
there's a lot of kind of opposing factors with this Knicks team that if it hits just right, it's going to be beautiful. Right. But there's also those areas of concern, with the coaching, the talent, all of that. Right. Like, the Knicks could be really, 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 really good.
Yeah. And I think also with this move is, listen, they've missed on top 10 picks. That hurts.
Yes.
All right. So they're trying to find that D'Angelo Russell when the Nets traded for him. Right. They're trying to find out, okay, we can't draft, we've messed the draft, we don't have we're not getting a high enough pick. So we need to find a young player that we feel like we bring into our system and like a pop, right? The Nets did that, and look how that changed their whole direction of the franchise, right? They make that move for D'Angelo Russell, and we all knew D'Angelo Russell had talent, but there were some maturity issues. They bring 100%. Him in, he gets mature, becomes an all-star, and then look at them now, right? Now they changed the whole direction of their team, and now they have a big three, and now they're trying to win a championship. All right, and we're going to talk about the Nets a little briefly coming up. But I think that's what the Knicks are trying to do. They realize, okay, the previous regimes, they've missed on picks. And listen, they're still trying to figure out Obi Toppin, right? Because he was another top 10 pick, and he's not lived up yet to that top 10 billing. Still has time, but he's also 24 years old. So
and doesn't have the best opportunity for him to go out there and learn either.
Exactly. With Randall on the team, he it's going to be really hard for him to ever ever live up to that top 10 billing when you just can't get the minutes, because the inconsistent minutes is what's hurting him too, because there's at times he's playing good basketball, but he's getting 10 minutes, 8 minutes, inconsistent minutes is going to be tough for him. So I think the Knicks are just trying to find that D'Angelo Russell type, and see if they can hit, because they've missed out on an abundance of picks, so I think they're just trying to strike gold, see if they can strike gold. But I feel like they're like a midlife crisis. They don't know the identity. They don't know what their identity is. Like,
now the defense isn't that good now, right?
The defense has taken a step back, right? And the offense has been inconsistent, right? You thought, okay, I think you were willing to sacrifice some defense, right? A little bit of defense, right? In order to get an uptick in offense. Because
that's what the Evan Fournier signing was supposed to do, right? And that was right. You figured, okay, to get Evan Fournier, he had some scoring, all right? And you could continue to with the young guys. Hopefully they develop, right? You figured RJ and all that. I just feel like they're also they just don't know their identity of the team. Everyone says play the young guys, but when you play the young guys, you're essentially saying playoffs is not really on a radar, right? You say play the young kids. Everyone wants to play the young guys, Grimes, McBride, all that. You play those guys, you might have to sacrifice, going to the playoffs, because y'all are the 10th seed, like, keeping it real though with that. The Knicks are the 10th seed right now, so there might be a little bit of merit in calling for a shakeup.
Yeah, But I'm saying everybody wants all. They
Yep.
want to start.
No, I get it.
They want to start McBride. They want to start this. They want to start that. Bench Julius and all that. It's like, well, you
Shiny
do
new
that.
objects.
Guess what? We might lose 50 games.
Yep.
So like, at times, you got to sprinkle them in. Like you just can't. If Grimes, like it feels like when Grimes has a good game, everyone, start Grimes. It's like let him play. In moderate. Remember, these are rookies. Let them slowly get in. I know Tibbs is. Not the guy who plays young guys, but we got to slowly get them in. So we'll see what happens. The trade. Hopefully, we'll get to see Cam. He took some shots. In pregame against Atlanta. We'll see how that goes.
Well, he's been unhappy in Atlanta too. So really, how much of that injury and the time that he's missed is truly due to injury? And how much
and we've heard those. We heard those rumors and all that. And he's back with RJ Barrett, his fellow Blue Devil teammate. A few years back. So maybe he just. Sometimes guys need to change the scenery just to feel happy, play basketball. Yeah, and then see if he thrives in that New York environment. And because like you mentioned, Stephen, you've seen it. Knicks fans will ride with you. That garden is that atmosphere is can get loud and crazy for you. So hopefully we'll see what happens, and we'll see him in a few weeks and or sooner, and see how he plays with this team. But let's talk about the other team in New York. That just big loss, a big loss for them. Kevin Durant is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL strain, massive loss. Probably takes him out of the MVP discussion. Probably, he was one of the candidates. Top 3 candidate, top 4 candidate at least for the MVP. Obviously, we know what Brooklyn's going through. Kyrie is back-ish.
Yeah,
he's back-ish. Only playing road games at the moment. So obviously losing KD, he'll be back. Obviously, but he's going to miss some time, at least a month, and change. How does this affect this Brooklyn team? Because, like you said, they got Harden, they got Kyrie, but at home games, it's only going to be Harden. For the time being, leading the way. And Harden's had his ups and downs this season. He hasn't looked like the James that we saw even last year, where he would look like he was looking like an MVP candidate with Brooklyn when those guys were out. So just give me your take, on how you think this Brooklyn team is going to look with no KD, just Kyrie for the road games, and Harden being the guy, when they're at home.
Well, so it's never an ideal time to lose a top 3 player. In the league today, you can make the argument, since he's come into the draft, that he might be the best player since he's, come onto the court. He's an NBA champion. He's always in MVP conversations. He's a unicorn of himself. About 7. He's always listed, at like 6'9", 6'10", but we all know that he's 7 feet tall, and he's just one of the most beautiful scorers in NBA history. So like painting that sort of a picture and saying that you're going to miss that guy for upwards to about a month and a half, it's hard to be optimistic about that. But here you go, Chris. I did some Arkansas level math here, and I counted out from today, 6 weeks, puts that out to about February 28th, right? And so then I did some more Arkansas level math here, and then I counted the number of road games between today and February 28th. So all in all, there's going to be 20 games played during that time. 13 of them are road games. So you only have 7 games where it's just James Harden and a decent complement of players. They got LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap. They got their combo.
The Rooks are going to have to step up.
Yeah, Cam Thomas, and we've seen him play well. That they got Daron Sharp as well. They got some pieces, right? And James Harden, yes, is not the James Harden of Houston, but his role has been asked to be a little bit different since he's come in Brooklyn. He's still averaging almost a triple-double, so it's not like he's a bad player, right? And he's playing off of an MVP, so your numbers, theoretically speaking, are going to take a hit. But here's the bright side. Kyrie Irving, who, I trust that he's in somewhat game shape. He might need a couple games to get fully back into game shape. But all in all, you're still getting Kyrie back for 13 of your next 20 games without Kevin Durant, right? And you still have James Harden. So, and looking at the games that they have, today, as of this recording, they got to play the Cavs. They play the Wizards, who don't look that good. The Spurs are still a winnable game. The Timberwolves, maybe. The Lakers, you still have a chance to lose to LeBron James, but they're kind of falling apart a little bit. The injury-riddled Nuggets, the Warriors, and the Suns back-to-back games, probably going to be losses there. Then you got the Sacramento Kings is a winnable game. The Jazz are a tough game. You got the Nuggets again, the Celtics, the Wizards again, the Heat, the Kings, the Knicks, the Wizards again. So you're playing the Wizards like 3 times in this stretch, so that's good. The Celtics twice, and then only a couple really top-tier teams in the NBA. So coupling their schedule with the fact that most of them are going to be on the road, and you got Kyrie Irving for those games, and then you still got James Harden, you're not necessarily freaking out because you're still the second seed in the Eastern Conference, and you got a 6.5, game lead on the 11th seed. So at worst, you're a play-in team if you just free fall and the bottom falls out. But I highly doubt that happens.
I
with this
don't.
team.
Yeah, if that happens, then there's a lot bigger issues than
Correct
than we're seeing right now.
But I mean, and that's what I'm trying to say, Chris, is like it's never an ideal time to lose an MVP. But if you had to lose Durant, now would be the time, because you still got time for him to come back and play himself healthy again. Get some chemistry developed, redeveloped with Irving and Harden. And the schedule is not necessarily the toughest during this stretch for them either.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that they're only 12-11 on at home, and they're kind of road warriors every time. I mean, we just saw them play Chicago, and they absolutely drubbed them.
Beat the brakes off of one of the best teams in the NBA.
And what's crazy is it was pretty much the second half that they absolutely took over, because the first half, it was, I think, 62-60. It was a ball game.
Yep.
It was a ball game. And then they just absolutely took over in the second half on both sides of the ball. Defensive, they were on point. So, they might be like, hey, maybe we should, everyone talks about, oh, what if there's a game 7 at the Barclays? There's no Kyrie. I mean, they might want to, hopefully that game 7 is on the road, because they absolutely look like road warriors right now. I think they might be they have one of the best records on the road, so they're playing good. You mentioned most are going to have a lot of their games on the road during that potential time that KD's going to miss.
13 of 20 are on the road.
So you're going to see Kyrie and Harden, I think they're going to be all right. I don't think, obviously sucks losing KD. Obviously you don't want to lose a Kevin Durant.
You'd prefer to keep an MVP player on your team. You'd
rather have him healthy, of course. And like I said, we've seen him have some injuries of late, especially with the, having the Achilles and all that. But this gives guys like Cam Thomas an opportunity to step up. Obviously, he doesn't play the same position, but they're going to need some guys to help with the scoring. And so who do you think benefits the most from this? Because to me, it's Cam Thomas.
I mean, it's got to be Cam Thomas, because if you look at any other position on this team, they're sound everywhere, but they like having another playmaker when one of the best playmakers in the NBA goes down. It's on Cam Thomas, or I won't say it's on him, but the opportunity is presented before him, because if he doesn't rise up and isn't the best player on the Nets, then it's understandable, right? Because there's 3 guys at minimum that are better than him as a scorer, right? If it works out for him, then he rolls out into a bigger role, a bigger opportunity to succeed on this team and to just add more cred to his name, right? I mean, and that at the end of the day, that's what all these players in the NBA want, right? Like they want the opportunity to be stars. Everyone wants a bag at some point. I said coming into the season, even before he was drafted to the Nets, I said that Cam Thomas has the potential on day 1 in the NBA to be a 6th man of the year caliber candidate. Now the opportunity is there for him to show that dynamic scoring that he did have in LSU, even though that the team wasn't necessarily built for him to be a volume scorer, he still did it anyway. He has every chance in the world right now, in my opinion, Chris, to seize a good opportunity for him and to make the best of it, playing alongside some of the best players in the NBA on this Nets team.
Yeah, and guys like Cam are going to have to step up. Kessler Edwards, has had some big games. Even David Duke. And we talked about the Nets and and their draft and even their free agent pickups. Like they really hit it this year, and we're going to see those guys especially with KD out now, and with Kyrie just playing road games, really have to step up. And so far, they've done a solid job so far in their role. And like I said, I think Cam Thomas is going to show us why maybe he should have went a lot higher, because he's what we call a bucket.
Yeah, I had him top 10 on my big board, and I was shocked that like I remember tweeting out like they really let him go to the Nets. Like that's insane. And two, I want to say real quick, another player that kind of benefits with this opportunity has got to be Nick Claxton, because with Harden
he's going
running
to
the
step
show,
up. He's going to step up, especially because they need interior presence, and he's been kind of up and down this year, but they really need him to step up.
and we know that when Harden is running the show, that he's going to attack the paint, and he does a great job of making his floaters look like lob passes and his lob passes look like floaters, right? So we've seen Harden make big men look really, really good, and Nick Claxton has an opportunity to step up and be a bigger focal point on this team as well.
Yes, for sure. So we'll see the impact of this injury, and see how they gel together. And like I said, probably around 20 games we won't see of KD, and we'll see how they roll. So I think they'll be fine. So definitely looking forward to seeing how
they just got to go 500 in my opinion, and they'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that it's kind of tight in that they only got like a few game lead between the second seed and I think like the sixth seed, but I think they'll be all right. I think James Harden steps up. We'll maybe see some old James Harden of old, especially with the scoring. And Kyrie, I think Kyrie's going to be Kyrie, and we'll see. Maybe they get Joe Harris back. I know he still hasn't. I know he still hasn't done any activities, but maybe in the next month or so we'll see him back. So we'll see how that goes. But
and when they got to train Bruce Brown not to fall on their stars' legs, like no matter what's going on.
Yeah. Tell him to relax. No, don't hurt your stars. You don't got
to play defense that hard on this team, bro. I'm just saying.
You don't want to do that hard. But all right. So obviously, if you've listened to me and you've listened to Steven, we co-host Draft Capital, talk about the draft and all that. And I dropped my big board yesterday.
Yes,
so we're gonna go dive into the draft, into my board, and see what Steven likes about it, what he doesn't like about it, and talk about some guys. So, like I said, I dropped it yesterday on the Off the Ball Network Substack. Make sure to go to the Substack, follow, and subscribe. It's free. We got a lot of great content there, not just for me, guys, Steven, a bunch of guys, Mo, everyone, all great, a lot of great content over there. So make sure you go subscribe to the newsletter and all that. But just to give you a quick recap of my board, all right, just to run through it real quick. Number one, he's been my number one for, I think, since he was out of the womb.
Since he committed to Duke, I think.
Since he committed to Duke, I've been a Paolo guy. That is my guy. Paolo is my number one guy, followed by Jabari Smith, from Auburn, Jaden Ivey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Duran, which some people have kind of soured on, but I still love the P word. I love his potential, and I think there's some underrated aspects of this game that I really like that can translate to the next level. Jaden Hardy, Benedict Mathurin, who's been a riser. Keegan Murray, a number 8 for me. AJ Griffin, Ty Washington, followed by Patrick Baldwin, Nikola Jovic, Kennedy Chandler, Jonathan Davis, Kendall Brown, Hugo Besson, J.D. Davison, Harrison Ingram, Caleb Houston, Dyson Daniels, Terry Eason, Ousmane Dieng, Gene Montero, Jordan Hall, Julian Champagny, Bryce McGowan, Mark Williams, Margin Benchup, Rogo Pakakin, and Wendell Moore. That rounds up my top 30. Steven, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Shoot.
Well, I know we talk draft all the time, so I'm not going to necessarily say anything negative about the upper part of your draft, because by and large, I agree with a lot of it. In the areas that I don't agree with, I understand your point of view, and it doesn't deviate that far away from where I have guys. But the first guy I want to ask you about, one guy I think that you have way too low, Tari Eason out of LSU. I mean, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I tweet about Tari and Alex Fudge all the time. You have him at 21. I'm looking at your board right now. You have him 21. Why is he only 21 to you, Chris?
I'm still trying to get more of a feel for him because he's kind of he's just skyrocketed. Someone that I didn't hear much before the process, and now he's kind of, just like I said, he's blown up and all that. So I'm just trying to get a feel. I don't want to just. I've seen people just absolutely jump from not having him at all to having him like in that top, and then that's fine. But just for me, I just want to see more. I just want to see, but he has all the tools, the tools. He got the size and everything you want. But I just want to see a little bit more, and just to get a better feel of him. That's why but I still feel like I have him right now in a respectable spot.
It's not disrespectful. I might be freakishly high on him compared to some people. I mean, I talked to Chad Ford about that too, where I had him, and he was like, "Hey, if that's where you got him, then stick with your gut."
Exactly.
But you just have him too low for my liking. But I think a lot of people would actually probably agree with you. Maybe I'm just crazy. All right, next guy that I think that a lot of people would say that you might have a little bit too low. We talked about him yesterday on the show with Lee Branscombe. That being Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas. Now, I'm curious to see as to why he's only 36 on your board. That was a lot of it due to the age, or is it because he's just having like a senior jump, and this is the best that we've seen him? Like what's going on with him?
You hit it on the head. It's that senior jump. And you mentioned Chad Ford. He was on his podcast, and he's like, he always kept waiting for him to pop. And listen, it's happened, and it's good, right? We're finally get to see it, and he has all the tools you want, at the next level, right? As a 2, at the next level, everything you want, and he has the size, everything, scoring ability and all that. And I mentioned that he kind of reminds me of like a Malik Beasley, just the guy who's just gonna, is not gonna give you much playmaking and all that, but he's gonna be able to score at will. So it's just, to me, that was my thing. Is just, I felt like we maybe we would have seen it a little earlier in his career and that senior pop. So just trying to figure out, and the age too. Like I don't want to factor that too much, but that is going to be a factor. And he's going to hear all that. Like, why do you think it takes so long for you to finally figure things out? But I have him at 36. He's playing absolutely great. I think he won Big 12 Player of the Week or
he
whatever.
Might be just college basketball player of the year. Like he's that good right now.
And he's definitely going to be in the running. So he definitely someone that I'm as he continues to play at a high level. He definitely could be in my top 30 for sure. I wouldn't be surprised that I actually move him up and put him in that back end of the first round where I would feel comfortable having him.
And Chris, just to go ahead and put this out there for anybody listening not familiar with me, listen, I'm a talent evaluator as well for Draft Capital. I have guys that a lot of people are probably higher on that I might have lower, and vice versa, right? So, like, I know what it's like to be on the opposite end of this, asking and answering questions, but for Agbaji, I could definitely understand why some of the factors that you're concerned with play a part into why he's lower on your board than he is mine, where I have him kind of in that 20 range right now.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy, and speaking of Chad Ford, I asked him about this player, and when discussing him, he talked about that senior leap that Ochai Agbaji is experiencing now, and that's Georgia Tech's Michael DeVoe. I'm looking here. You have him 53rd. I have him as a high second rounder on my board, right? So looking at him, he's a terrific scorer. He's a solid passer.
20 a game almost. Yeah.
Like, he can do everything, and he's a really good three-point shooter, by the way, has been his entire career in Georgia Tech. And he's a lefty. Lefties are fun to watch. And he can kind of hold his own on the defensive end as well. I think that he's similar to Agbaji in the fact that he's probably a 2 who can help out in a couple other areas as well. I'm just curious as to why you have him 53rd.
Yeah, I just the upside. I'm trying to see his because I feel like he is just a 2. I think he'll have trouble with maybe some of the bigger wings and all that. So to me, just seeing with him, like I said, he could score right now and he's been efficient and all that. But just seeing him at the next level, I don't know if I see that upside with him. I think he could be a nice rotational piece at the next level. But I'm just trying to figure out like what else can he do at the next level as far as guarding and that. So just that's why I probably have him too low.
Mm-hmm.
But I just it'd been hard to figure out. I just can't vision him at the next level, and that's what I had with him. That was the trouble I had, with him. That's why I had him kind of, later in the second round.
Okay, and then the last guy that I have a question on that I think you have too low before we get to the guys that I think you have too high, and I can't wait to get that discussion because sometimes I have to talk it out too before something will click in my head. But the last guy that I think you have too low is Ismail Kamagate out of Paris. You have him 50th right now.
Yeah, I
And
have him way too low. I even admitted myself, like I just watched his last game, and he actually just absolutely stood out. And to me, when I do my next one, he will not be that low. I promise you that.
and that's the funny thing too about making boards is when you put it out, like a player will completely outclass where you had him if you didn't have him at all. Like I didn't have Torre Eason on my 1.0. All right, so a couple players that I think you have too high. Yannick Zosa, you have him 40th. I don't think that, and I know that this is not the popular belief, right? Like you're in the majority here. I don't have a draftable grade on Yannick Zosa. Like to me,
Yeah, he's tough, man.
Everything about him is only potential. Like he's tall and he runs. Like that's literally it. Like even the defense, I think, is starting to be overhyped. But I need your help. Please sell me on Yannick, man.
Yeah, he's tough to figure out. I mean, remember, people thought he would possibly be a top 10 pick, maybe even higher. So like I said, I think someone's going to take a chance on him simply off that P word, the potential.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I do have him ranked too high, but
well, a lot of people have him in their first round too, Chris. So like some people might argue that you're too low. I need help with him because I don't have a draftable grade on him.
Yeah, and I've seen people like you just be like, yeah, I don't even think he's a draftable player at the moment because he's not playing good right now. So I could definitely understand that aspect of with him. He's just so tough to figure out. He's just so because the talent's there. It's just we haven't seen it from him. So I could definitely see why people have soured on him and don't even have him on their board. I still think he's definitely someone that is a draftable player because there is stuff you can work with, and if you get him in the right system and teach him, everything he needs to be taught, I think you could have someone in a few years that can be someone that could help you in your rotation. So that's why I still have some faith in him, but he's definitely nowhere near where he was before, the season started, where he was, people were talking about him top 10, top 5, even,
Yep, for sure. All right, so I got 3 more guys. I'll give them to you in rapid fire fashion. Trace Jackson Davis, you have him at 42. I don't have him in my top 60.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Silas, I'm curious to get your opinion on him because this is a guy that's not really getting a lot of burn in Gonzaga. I get that he's a freshman. There's a lot of appeal there, along with him and teammate, Nolan Hickman out of Gonzaga. You have him at 37. And then you got Moussa Diabate, who I know a lot of people actually like him. I myself can't come around to liking his game where he's at right now. And you have him at 41. So if you could help me out with those guys, I need all the help I can get with those 3.
Yeah, I still like Hunter Salas a lot. Like I think he's a candidate for someone that maybe should go back to Gonzaga.
Yep.
And like we mentioned, we talked about on draft capital that maybe be one of those sophomores that has that massive jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I like his game when he's getting the minutes. I feel like I see good things. Just a matter he's not getting those consistent minutes.
So he's like a pre-draft candidate for you, basically.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. For sure. And I think if he does put his name in, I think in the combine, we're good. I think he's someone to be like, whoa, what, I didn't see that. I think he's someone that could shoot like that.
Okay.
But definitely someone that I could consider coming back and he'll definitely be on my list of sophomores that can possibly have a massive jump. Like we've seen a lot of the sophomores that we're going to, in this class. Who else did you have?
Trace Jackson Davis out of Indiana.
I just love guys that could just bang in the post and all that. And he kind of had that old school vibe. I know there's some things, as far as shooting in the perimeter, but I just like guys that just be able to just bang in the post. And
he's a good defender too.
He's good, the solid defender, has good size and all that. I still think there's value in that. And, I just like his game. I just like his game. And that's why I have him where I think he's still someone that we will see in the second round and someone give it a chance and, play some solid minutes in the league, So I just like his style. That style of basketball I still like. So maybe that's why I'm so infatuated with him.
Okay. And then the last one that I had was Musa Diabate, another freshman out of Michigan.
Yeah. And obviously Michigan has not had a great season at all. They're kind of been disappointing. You talk about another freshman, Caleb Houston. But I like Diabate's game a lot. I feel like I like him more than Caleb at the moment. And I was a big Caleb guy.
Me too.
But I've seen more from Diabate than I've seen from Caleb. It just I don't know what's going on in Michigan. Is it Juwan Howard and his philosophies? I don't know. Maybe you could help me out with that because it's one of the biggest mysteries figuring them out.
Early on in the season, he was genius, right?
Yeah. I mean,
they
look
the
like
first couple games, they looked like they were going to be a national championship contender.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people had them, maybe being one of those teams that we see, cutting the nets down, but they have absolutely just disappointed. And I like him a lot. He's a 6'11". His wingspan is freaking through the roof.
7 foot forever, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe I'm falling in love with with his potential and what I see him down the line and all that.
I think people are really high on his defensive upside because offensively he's like he's as raw as Monday nights used to be, right, for wrestling.
Yeah.
But
super raw. But he's another Frenchman that there's a lot of French guys that we're going to see potentially in this draft that could get drafted, and there's a nice crop of French guys that
Kamagate might be my favorite center not named Jalen Duren in this draft.
Yeah, and like I said, that's someone that I'm probably going to have way, way, way higher. I mean,
and you snuck Damian Collins in there on me too. You got him 39th. I'm having a hard time. I'm wanting to draft him too, but yeah,
I've seen people not even have him top 60 and all that. So another tough eval, but I like
physical freak of nature though. I mean,
and then a lot of these guys. We see a lot of these guys. They're physical freaks, and Musa has, like I said, 6'11", 7 whatever wingspan and all that. He might be the best. I've seen people have him ranked ahead of Caleb because which you can't. I mean, you can't blame him because Caleb just hasn't lived up, and people are not buying that. If he can't be a scorer, he can't do much else.
He can't defend either.
So it's like I get why people would be have him Musa higher than Caleb, but it's been a tough year for Michigan. Figuring things out.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, those were all the guys that I had. Like I said, a lot of your kind of your early first all the way up through the top of your big board, I don't necessarily vehemently disagree with. Even you having Jaden Ivey top 3 over one of these other big 3 candidates that we have in this draft. My board doesn't look that dissimilar at the top of the draft either. So those are just the ones, man. And I needed help with Yannick Zosa, Trace Jackson Davis, Hunter Silas, and Musa Diabate because I can't get on board with them. But I appreciate the points that you brought up, man.
Yeah, no, and like I said, everyone's board's different. We all know that, and everyone has different, especially once you get past that 15 range. Everyone's board just going to be all over the place, right? There's guys that are going to be ranked 16th, that other people are going to have 38th, and the guys who are ranked 30th, they're like, he's not even nowhere near my top 60. So
boards are inherently biased because it's like, what type of player do you think is most important in the NBA? And it varies.
Yeah, and that's why when people get so uptight, how do you have this guy, this and that? It's like, hey, at a certain point at your board, it's like, all right, who do you just think? It's just a matter of who you think's gonna fit best in the league and all that, and who you like. And I think that factors in too. So that's why I love looking at people's board because it gives you a good feel of where other people have.
Where the
sometimes you may because you may not think of why this guy is why this person likes this person, and you figure out maybe let me see if I see that. Let me see if I see what he sees. If you see maybe I just missed out because there's so many guys. I mean, there's so many guys that
I'm at over 250 prospects that I'm scouting right now, and it seems like the the names never stop coming up of the like, oh, have you seen this guy out of Westchester, Manhattan State Penitentiary College for the Blind? Like
exactly, right. There's so many guys. I mean, I wrote down a few guys today, and I'm like, okay, I haven't heard about that much of that guy. Let me check him out. So I think even as we get closer to March Madness and all that, we're still hearing names, and we're going to hear names in March Madness. Like, whoa, this guy from this school, I never even heard of this school and stuff. So that's the best part. But yeah, that was my board, and you could check out the rest. You could check out 31 to 60 on the Substack. Make sure to check that out. I'll post a link below in the description when I get everything. When I post everything. So with Stephen, man, this was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you. Like I said, I haven't done a show in a little bit. I'm happy you were the first one of 2022. And like I said, it was a blast, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's a huge honor. I mean, just the fact that you want to talk basketball with me at any level is always, is a joy to me, man. The fact that I'm leading off 2022 on such a great, show and podcast means a lot to me, man. I appreciate you wanting to have me on, and I also just enjoy the fact that we bounce ideas off each other all the time, man. And you're a great dude. I'm glad to do the show with you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always a pleasure talking to you. And like I said, happy to finally get. Oh my God! I just watching the game and the guy just pulled a Ben Simmons underneath the basket. That just shocked me. But like I said, it was fun doing this. We got to talk about the Cam Reddish deal and KD's injury and how much that impacts, and got to discuss my big board. But like I said, appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, it was a blast. Before we sign off, let the people know where they can find you and any other projects you got coming up.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, I'm most active on Twitter. You can do that at Stephen G Hoops. That's Stephen with a PH, not a V. You can follow me on Substack at stephengillespie.substack.com. I have, some written work that I do on there. Both of my boards, 1.0 and 2.0, are out. As Chris has mentioned, I'm kind of he and I both take care of Draft Capital, where I've had some guests on, and Chris has jumped in and out whenever he can. That podcast is available anywhere that you get your podcast. Draft Capital is what you will look up. And, I have a lot of fun on that show with Chris, man. And we just had Lee Branscombe on, and that was an outstanding episode. We talked about a number of perimeter players that are looking to get first-round grades in this year's draft. And we went through the what we likes, what we don't. And more importantly, we just had a really good time. So go and check that latest episode out. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and review, all that fun stuff for that. And yeah, just keep listening to Off the Ball podcast. The Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio. Off the Ball Mondays is a good time every week. Just keep checking that out as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like I said, Off the Ball Mondays, we got a great slate of shows on Off the Ball Mondays on the Nothing But Net Radio channel on Dash Radio. So check that out. And on that note, Stephen, you can follow me Off the Ball pod on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. That's where I'll have, any projects coming up. Just follow me there. Instagram, YouTube. Make sure to follow the YouTube Off the Ball Network YouTube. We're trying to get the numbers up there. So
Chris, did I lose you?
My internet. Am I back? I'm back. Bam. See, the internet went off for me for a second.
I was going to close out the show for you if I needed to.
For my guest today, Stephen Gillaspie, for me, Chris LeBron, Off the Ball Network. Make sure to check out everything over there. OTB_network on Twitter. For all the great sponsors. It's a pleasure. Be well. Be safe. Take care, everyone. Peace out.
Don't be racist.
Don't be racist. Don't be racist.